Si è tenuto presso il Centro Culturale Zanussi di Pordenone il Cambridge Day, corso di aggiornamento per docenti di lingua inglese tenuto dai migliori teacher trainers britannici. Si è parlato di tematiche di stretta attualità come l'uso dei tablets in classe e altre strategie per catturare l'interesse dei teens.
For several years now, Cambridge University Press has been organizing Cambridge Day events all over the country. What are the main aims and objectives of this event?
Well, I would say that to answer this question fully, we need to take a step backwards and consider the mandate of Cambridge University Press within the University of Cambridge. The University of Cambridge states that Cambridge University Press has a mandate, a job, a task to fulfill. And that task is not just limited to the production and publication of didactic materials for teachers to use all over the country and indeed all over the world, but it goes further. The mandate is that Cambridge University Press should be involved in furthering the excellence of teachers, assisting teachers in using the didactic materials, furthering their professional development. And this really is the main purpose. This is why we exist. It's to contribute to education, to contribute to the teaching community, and to further educational aims and objectives throughout the country and throughout the world.
Are digital tablets a useful tool for language learners and their teachers?
I think that depends. You can't say for sure. It depends from school to school and classroom to classroom. I think the really important thing with tablets is you have to have a plan of how you're going to use them. You have to know why you're going to use them. And in some cases that means changing your approach to teaching, using more media approach to teaching, so using film and using audio as well, using multimedia essays. But what's most important is that teachers have the training, that they're actually consulted before they're given the tablets. It'll never work if you just give teachers a load of tablets and say, you have to use them. You have to have a plan, you have to have their consensus, actually. They have to buy into the idea and accept it. But also you have to have a way of setting tasks which are meaningful for tablets and a way of assessing them. And sometimes this means rethinking the curriculum a little bit. Generally where tablets are introduced, this isn't done. So you see lots of examples where it's failed spectacularly. However, with the proper planning and the right approach, I think they can be very useful tools.
And do you think our teachers are ready to use all these new technological tools as well as their students already do?
Okay, this is a really interesting question. It's one I've thought about a lot and I've spoken to many teachers around the world. Many teachers will tell you, actually, you know what, I'm not confident using technology. Then they go home and they buy a Ryanair plane ticket on the internet, they do some internet shopping, they send off some emails, they pick up their mobile phone, they take a photo, they send it to their friend. The issue isn't teachers' ability to use technology, it's whether they feel comfortable using it in the classroom. The other thing is we tend to think of teachers as digital immigrants and students as digital natives. And we think there's a generational problem. And I think this is absolute nonsense. The example I gave in the presentation was that of my daughter. When she turned 16, I took her out to an electronics shop to buy a computer. I said, Dominica, look at this computer. It's got 2 gigabytes of RAM. It's got a 200 gigabyte hard drive. It's got 2 USB ports, etc. I said, which one do you want? And she said, well, that one. And I said, why do you want that one? And she said, because it's pink. And this is supposedly a digital native who knows everything about it. She then said, Dad, does it have internet in it? And I said, what do you mean, does it have internet in it? She goes, well, does it have internet in it? And I said, Dominica, darling, I pay £200 every year to have Wi-Fi in the house. And she stopped and she thought and she said, yeah, but does it have internet in it? I think we've got a problem I think as the world is possibly changing, I think the older generations are conceding the new world with all its symbols and all its power to the younger generation. And I think it's wrong because they still need guidance. They need guidance on how to critique technology, how to use it constructively. And if they don't get that from the teachers, where are they going to get it? I also say to teachers that they can feel very nervous when they're using technology in the classroom. Some of them say to me things like, do you know what, I'm scared my students might laugh at me. My response is really simple. I'll tell you what, if they laugh at you, 2-hour grammar test. They're not going to laugh again. So no, I think the whole narrative and the rhetoric around the generations and the digital natives and the digital immigrants is actually hiding some much more important truths and actually making the debate about technology in the classrooms more difficult than it needs to be.
You have been teaching English for 30 years all around the world. In your opinion, why is it that Italians seem to have so many difficulties in learning English?
Forse questo è una domanda politica, ma I don't actually think that Italian students have difficulty in learning English. Italian students are among the best in the world when it comes to knowing grammar. Italian school is very much based upon a grammar-driven knowledge of a language. I think most of the students, what they miss most is actually the opportunity to develop their other skills, particularly speaking and listening skills. I think that is probably where the main issue lies.
And do you think the situation is changing nowadays?
Yes, I do. And I say that because I think a lot of change is being driven by the internet. Internet is an English word. Facebook is an English word. Students now have the opportunity to get in touch with people in other countries in a way that perhaps 20 years ago they were not able to do so easily. Now, through the means, electronic means, they're able to conduct a conversation, a relationship with someone in another country. And the means of conducting that relationship is generally English.
And what kind of linguistic portfolio is important today to respond to the demands of the real world?
Now this, in my estimation, is the most important question of all, because certification is becoming absolutely essential for all sorts of areas of work, areas of study, going to university. What I'm talking about is language certification, because what language certification does is to quantify the knowledge, the language knowledge of a person in a way that the outside world, a potential employer, a university professor will be able to understand. They can no longer just accept the word of the student that their English language is buono. Now they need some kind of quantifying certification which will say this student is A2, this student is B1, B2 of the Common European Framework. This is absolutely essential and will become more important in the future.